Yeah. 3-6, mafia.
Whoa, hey, yeah. Whoa, say what? 3-6 mafia. It's going down. Y'all know what time it is. We ain't playing with you. In the club, in the street. Shut up! Y'all know what time it is. Get ready for it. Oh, man alive. Wait to be quick. Step up, bring it. Yes, sir.
Hello, everybody, and happy Friday, and welcome into Season 2 and Episode 18 of No B.S. on this Friday, December 18th, 2020, kicking off the College Football Conference Championship Weekend. As usual, folks, joined by the fellow correspondents, our good man Trevor Williams and Isaiah Leung, yours truly, Callan McClurg, joining you from the home studios here in San Diego. Trev, good to see you, man, on this Friday. How we doing, man?
You know, we already had our MI6 technical difficulties where my internet decided, cut out right before we go live. So, it's the MI6 without technical difficulties. It's part of the program, it's part of the show. So, you got to live with the MI6 issues at this point in time.
You got to roll with the punches, folks. If you join us here on the network, of course, Isaiah Leung from the home studios up in Fremont, California, joining us as well. Isaiah, good to see you, man. How we doing tonight on this Friday?
Callan, Trevor, it's great to see you guys once again. I have the decorations all laid out just in time for Christmas. I'm very happy today because, ladies and gentlemen, I bought this as my Christmas gift. I know we're going to be talking about Christmas presents earlier, but I did buy this shirt. I bought this shirt for Christmas. I don't know if you guys can see the red. It's red. Like, it's not looking good in the picture, but it says Nick freaking Mullins to support my guy. And I also today have homemade cookies that I baked by myself. It turned out to be a success. I got cookies, coffee, plus the holiday decorations all in time for the Christmas spirit, or all in time for Christmas. Plus, I'm rocking my Brock Purdy GOAT shirt just in time for Iowa State. For Iowa State as they battle Oklahoma tomorrow in the Big 12 championship game.
And with that, folks, again, on this Friday for No BS, we again, folks, have the ongoing deliberations that is the network's 31 Days of Hot Takes Challenge rolling along, folks, into still in round 2. Tonight, folks, you're voting for Isaiah or Ryan Schreiner for the 31 Days of Hot Takes Challenge. Will it be Isaiah and his famed Luke Walton over LeBron James rant, or Ryan saying that Matthew Stafford is a top 5 NFL quarterback? Folks, you can vote, of course, in the poll live on the page right now by visiting facebook.com/MI6Sports. With that, Trevor and Isaiah will start things off tonight over actually in the NBA as we approach the start of the 2020-21 NBA season next Tuesday night. Again, with 2 games on the schedule, including, of course, the Clippers and the Lakers. With that, guys, a couple of questions surrounding this NBA season on what is our NBA season preview segment here on this Friday. Of course, guys, the LA Lakers open up as the early favorites to repeat as back-to-back NBA champs. Again, the defending champs keeping LeBron James, Anthony Davis, adding in a couple of very nice pieces to the puzzle with Marc Gasol, Montrezl Harrell, and also Dennis Schroeder coming over in a trade with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Of course, the Clippers, can they kind of, in a way, get themselves on track? Again, a lot of news, though, in regards to what we'll get into a little bit later in the show, though. Still, though, with more fallout, though, from the perhaps tampering issues surrounding Jerry West and the Clippers organization with Kawhi Leonard, a rebuilding Golden State team minus Klay Thompson, all the drama in Houston, and, of course, Giannis staying in Milwaukee for the next 5 seasons, the 76ers, the Nets, of course. Trevor, the first question, though, for this NBA preview segment, though, will you take the Lakers to win the NBA championship, or will you take the field to win this year's 2020-21 72-game regular season championship? Yes or no? Or who will it be?
I will definitely take the Los Angeles Lakers based off what we've seen in a bubble scenario. If the NBA decides to go that route, the Lakers already been through that scenario. They're well-tuned. They got some new pieces this year. And it's just like they're more active compared to all the other NBA teams out there. They've played more recently, so all those guys are going to have fresh legs compared to everybody else in the NBA that wasn't playing up into the finals or in the postseason. They're going to be rusty. Yes, we have NBA preseason, but when the games start finally matter, will the players will have enough gas to do like a solid stretch, all the way through January through February and be able to keep that consistency early on? Or are we going to see a slugfest to the finish for the 7th and 8th seed, or even 6th seed? So players are not really well tuned, and the Lakers are going to have all this mileage on them. Can they just, coast to the finish with not really, participating that much in the month of March?
So, Isaiah, Trev likes the Lakers to repeat as NBA champions this season at this rate. And I think for rightfully so, though, with reasons as mentioned.
MI6 at its finest. So, Isaiah, I guess based off of Callan's, I'll let you go into your take.
Yeah, so I'm going to agree with you, Trevor. I'm going to take the Lakers over the field to win the NBA title because I just think the Lakers are far and beyond the best team in the NBA. We know about LeBron and AD, two of the top 5 players in all of basketball. Plus, this season, they added a bunch of depth that they didn't have last season. Last year, they won with KCP, Danny Green, Quinn Cook, and the rest of the crew, as we have Callan back on the set. But, the Lakers picked up Dennis Schroeder. They picked up Montrezl Harrell. They picked up Marc Gasol, guys that are going to help the Lakers out when it comes to the depth department. Give me the Lakers. I don't see anybody coming close to beating the Los Angeles Lakers and taking them down this season.
You get technical problems. You get technical problems. Everybody gets technical problems on this Friday of No BS. But I was going to refer, though, or at least to go to Isaiah's point, though, again, about Trevor picking the Lakers to win, again, go back-to-back with the championships. I agree, though, as well, fellas, with the Lakers repeating as NBA champs, though, because of how this roster is laid out. And again, they only got better, though, in regards to Schroeder can give you minutes off the bench. Maybe you plug him in as a starter right away. Harrell brings a load of energy off the bench. He's kind of that guy, though. I think Isaiah had a very good point, though, over the offseason, maybe even in the bubble environment, though, was that people thought that the Lakers had no dogs. They had like no one out there to kind of stir the pot, kind of, get in people's faces. And of course, the Clippers kind of had like that hockey enforcer mentality with Marcus Morris, Pat Bev, and then you have Harrell. But now, of course, Trez comes to the Lakers, and he kind of already, maybe not full blown, but kind of saw that come to fruition with basically with how Beverly and Harrell went at each other in the preseason games between LA and LA. I still like the Lakers, though, to repeat because the roster is stacked, but also minus the Clippers, maybe. There's really no one that's going to, in my mind, come close to the throne in the Western Conference. And of course, you have plenty of options, though, out east, which of course, Trevor, leads me to to the next point here, though. Which team, though, in your mind, does come out of the Eastern Conference this season? Because I think that we said a very good point, though, fellas, over the course of this week, though. The East is kind of getting back up there slowly. Plus, with Giannis staying in Milwaukee, of course, you have Miami, who's looked good. Boston, Brooklyn, of course, is very intriguing, though. But I still think, though, it's not going to work out with Irving and KD on that roster. Trevor, give us your thoughts. Who, in your mind, comes out of the Eastern Conference this season in the NBA?
For me, I think based off the Eastern Conference, teams that are going to be solid for this year, it's definitely going to be the Miami Heat. They're groomed organization, and they'll definitely get back to the postseason without a doubt. I think the only team that can really rival them without too many moving pieces is Boston. Everything else in the East, like for example, the 76ers just got Doc Rivers, so they're going to be adjusting to a new coaching style. Brooklyn Nets, a lot of moving pieces. You have KD, Kyrie coming back with Steve Nash as a head coach. So that's not going to be as elite as we're going to think it's going to be. Also, I guess Milwaukee with Giannis, though they may end up clinching the number 1 seed, is it going to be enough weapons for them to dominate the East, or will there an injury just shut them down and just be another, Heat Lakers, it could be in favor of the Lakers because of that, but we really don't know. But I'm going to say, to be the safest bet, it's probably going to be the Miami Heat coming out of the East again.
So, Isaiah, we have Trevor going with Miami to repeat as Eastern Conference champs this season. I still think, though, that Brooklyn could make it work, but I just don't see it coming to fruition. Milwaukee, I think, is still a couple of puzzle pieces away from hopefully giving Giannis some more help, though. Boston could be, but they've been so close so many times. I would not rule out Toronto, though. I know they lost Serge Ibaka to the Clippers, though, but Toronto still is a very interesting ball club, though. But the East, though, I think is getting back up to where it once was, though, with its competitiveness over the past several seasons, but more so, I think, last year was seeing that again. Indiana's kind of on the upswing. Isaiah, in your mind, who in your mind runs the Eastern Conference in 2020, 2021, and why?
Give me the Oregon Ducks. The Boston Celtics, because I think that right now, the Boston. Sorry, guys. I have one part of my brain watching the Oregon USC game and one on this show. But give me the Boston Celtics, because I know last year the Celtics, they faltered in the Eastern Conference Finals, but one can argue that the Celtics could have won at least 3 of those games. They had the lead. They had double-digit leads in 3 of those games, and if they had closed out each one of those games, the Boston Celtics could have easily been the team headed to the NBA Finals instead of the Miami Heat. I know they lost Gordon Hayward this offseason, but I felt like the signing of Tristan Thompson is a very underrated signing, because Tristan Thompson is a guy that can do damage on offense in the post. He's also a guy that can rebound the heck out of the basketball on the offensive end, and also he's a great defender in the paint. And the Boston Celtics were missing that big man that can go up against guys like Anthony Davis, that can go up against guys like Bam Adebayo, and they finally got that in Tristan Thompson, who I think is going to be a huge boost to this ball club. You add that to Jason Tatum, who is going to continue to get better, Jaylen Brown, Kemba Walker. If the Celtics can stay healthy, I expect the Boston Celtics to come out of the East instead of Miami.
This is a very interesting conference. I think that there's 3 teams that probably, maybe 4 in my mind, who have a shot at getting to the NBA Finals. And I think for reasons justified, though, Milwaukee, of course, is still my number 1 Eastern Conference team because of Giannis and how he is, though. But again, will there be enough help around him to lead them through the postseason waters? Again, we have seen that, though, the past couple seasons, where the Bucks have been great in the regular season but can't finish the job off in the playoffs. The Celtics still, I think, are another, 1A, 1B in my mind, because of how they have been with their 3, and that Danny Ainge is not a stranger, of course, to, the finals appearances and stuff like that. But that Brown and Smart and Tatum are very, very good options with Boston. Miami, of course, the defending Eastern Conference champs, led by a very, I think, underappreciated head coach, fellas, in Eric Spoelstra. That Spoelstra has not, I think that throughout his career, Spoelstra has not been given his due diligence. And I like what they have down there with Bam, Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero. And then my 4th option, we have Milwaukee, Miami, and then also with Boston. The 4th one, though, it's my outlier. It's Brooklyn. If they can somehow, some way get that organization with Kyrie and KD on the same page, and there's no off-the-court issues, no in-game blow-ups, they may have a chance, but they're at the very bottom right now of my totem pole. I like Milwaukee and or Miami. If I had to go between the Bucks and Heat, I like Miami to repeat, because Eric Spoelstra is a underappreciated head coach in the NBA in my mind, and he's done a lot of great things with that organization, and I don't think he's been given his fair amount of credit, or a fair share of a fair share of credit where credit is due at this rate, guys. A lot of thoughts trickling in here throughout the course of this program right now. We first and foremost have Christy Wilson, who says, I would say the Lakers repeat, but I think it will be difficult for them to do that. With the season, guys, being shorter than, being 10 games shorter, it may make the route a bit easier in people's minds. We're talking about a 72-game regular season, not a full 82 games, so that might perhaps help things out. Casey agrees with me, though. He's got LA over Milwaukee, the Lakers over the Bucks, and 5 in the postseason for the championship this year. John Alcorn with plenty of thoughts in the box via his YouTube channel. He says that they have a great starting five, plus having a great bench. That's a key in the championship run, is a good bench with the Lakers. John agrees with us, though, guys. The Nets are the most overrated team in the NBA for 2020 and 2021. Kyrie and his antics, no way even if KD is at 200% healthy. And also to troll Isaiah, the Oregon Ducks, just like Higgins' diapers. John, though, does like Miami, though, fellas, for this reason that Jimmy Butler will be hungry to get back there, and that Giannis in the playoffs is exposed in the postseason. I still like the Bucks, but if it's not Milwaukee, in my mind, it will be Miami once more. Trevor, with that in mind, what is the one team on your radar that will be your biggest surprise franchise in 2020, 2021?
Isaiah, you're going to be surprised. You're going to be happy with this pick. I'm going to have to go with the Phoenix Suns. They're building up, Devin Booker. They got Chris Paul. They did really well in the draft. So they're a nice up-and-coming team led by seasoned veterans. So they got all the right, pieces together, build a nice little bit of a playoff push. And we saw it last year without Chris. Like, they didn't have Chris Paul. Devin Booker was nearly like an MVP in the 8 games he played in the bubble before they went to the playoffs, though they fell short. Just imagine they had Chris Paul giving, Devin Booker the great assists that he be able to be a spot up shooter in those sense. And voila, the Phoenix Suns could, snag that 7th seed or snag a 6th seed this coming up season. So definitely the Phoenix Suns are the team to watch, as well as, the Warriors trying to bounce back. So those are the 2 teams I'm going to keep my eyes on for sure during this NBA season.
So, Isaiah, mainly Trevor is rolling with your Phoenix Suns. Again, they had that very sweet trade deal for Chris Paul this season to go along with Devin Booker and those young studs down in the Valley. Isaiah, how about you, though, for the one team that will be the biggest surprise in your mind, maybe minus the Suns in your mind? Who would it be?
Well, Callan, I think you should keep the camera be that 3-way angle, because I think that all 2 of you, or you and Trevor, will walk off the set once I'm done saying this. But I think my biggest surprise this season, believe it or not, is the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think the Cleveland Cavaliers can surprise a whole lot of folks this season. If you look at the Cavs after they made that switch from John Beilein to JB Bickerstaff, the Cavaliers played so much better than they were at the start of the season with Beilein. I think that had a lot to do with the Cavs players just wanting to play for JP Bickerstaff instead of wanting to play for John Beilein. If you guys remember, the Cavs players hated John Beilein's style. They had a mutiny against him. It was just a really toxic situation. But once Beilein got out of there, the Cavs just seemed more happy. They seemed more focused. They seemed more energized, and they were playing winning basketball until the season got shut down. If you look at the Cavs roster, they have Collin Sexton, who I have been very high on. I don't know why a lot of people keep hating on him, but he's a guy that is very fast. He can score the basketball at will. He's an improving three-point shooter. I think he's going to have a breakout season this upcoming season in his 3rd year in the NBA and just ball out. They got Isaac Okoro, the guy that Ryan really hated during our draft show. He's a guy that the Cavs really needed because they needed a wing defender to go along with Collin Sexton. Collin Sexton is a fantastic offensive player, but he sucks on defense. They needed a guy that could pair Sexton on the defensive side of the ball, and they got that in Okoro. I think Darius Garland is more of a 6-man off the bench because he's an electric scorer, but he sucks on defense as well. So you put him on the bench. You have Dante Exum, the former top pick by the Utah Jazz. He's also going to be coming off the bench. He can provide some scoring and defense. And let's not forget, they have Kevin Love and Andre Drummond. Andre Drummond averaged 20-plus points last season. He's a terrific big man. And Kevin Love, if he can get back to the Kevin Love from a couple of years ago, him and Collin Sexton with Dylan Windler, who is a great three-point shooter but didn't play last season because he was coming off injury. The Cavs have some very nice pieces, and with the Eastern Conference being pretty weak in the 7th and 8th spots and 9th spots, I think the Cavs have a chance to challenge for one of those final playoff spots in the East.
So we have Phoenix and Cleveland as surprises. I'm actually wearing a jersey, guys, of a team I think might surprise people again. I'm going to go with the Dallas Mavericks because I like what this franchise is building post Dirk Nowitzki. You got Luka Doncic, probably one of the more exciting, energetic young players in the NBA. Hopefully a healthy Kristaps Porzingis. But for some reason, guys, Dallas always seems to intrigue me, more so this season, because I want to see how Luka can build off of his previous season, though. And I think he might be one of the very few players, and probably one of my favorite players outside of the Lakers organization, is in Dallas. And of course, Mark Cuban, trying to get that team back to the championship glory for the first time since 2011, 2012. But also, not just that, though, as well, fellas, Rick Carlisle is still doing some great things down in Dallas. And again, Porzingis, hopefully he's healthy. Luka Doncic, again, Luka's going to be probably one of the players you have got to watch throughout the course of the season. But also that Dallas, I think, though, and probably what looks to be a very weak Southwest division, fellas, between Houston, San Antonio, the Mavericks, Oklahoma City, and there might be one more team in there. I might be overstating my boundaries. But that it might be, though, guys, a winnable division where Dallas could perhaps surprise some people and make the top 4 spots in the Western Conference, in my mind, in that division so far on the season. But I like Dallas, though, to kind of be my surprising team in the NBA, again, just by virtue of, again, Doncic and Porzingis being some very, very exciting players on the ball club. Casey writes in, he agrees with Trevor that the Suns will be a surprise team and make the postseason this year. They're going to be very fun. I do think, though, it will not be a division championship due to, again, the Lakers running the roost in the Pac division. Also, Christy says about Isaiah picking the Cavs. To quote John Mathis, you said what? What did you say? I will say this, though. Cleveland probably has my favorite city jersey of the year, though, with the Cleveland name spelt out in the rock and roll tribute font to all of the rock and roll musicians. And Christy agrees with me by saying that the Mavericks could be a surprise ball club. So we have Dallas, Cleveland, and Phoenix as our surprising ball clubs for the NBA season. Trevor, next up on the NBA preview segment here. Trevor, give us your league MVP and your rookie of the year for 2020-21.
So league MVP is really, really tough. This is going to be, most people would say Giannis could repeat it and do it and win it again. James Harden, I almost say James Heisman. Oh man, it's already going to be, it's a bad night already for me. But, James Harden can also, win it. He's done it in the past. But I want to say if Kevin Durant gets back on a fast enough tempo, I think he has the capability of winning it. Though it really depends on what Kyrie Irving does. If Kyrie is willing to contribute, put Kevin Durant in the best shooting positions possible, I guarantee you, I think Kevin Durant has the best chance of probably snagging that MVP from Giannis and beating him. And then, you could see Brooklyn and the Lakers face in the, finals. But it really boils down if that organization is going to get it together, get their act together, and be able to give KD that support to do that push and be able to do all the achievements that an MVP needs during the regular season.
Do you have a rookie of the year?
Rookie of the year, I'm going to go with James Wiseman from Golden State. He's a center. You got Curry. Curry's probably going to be more of like the point guard, getting the ball around, bringing it up. So you get that big man involved. He's going to, put some points up. He's over 7 feet tall, James Wiseman. So he's going to be able to, dunk it and jam it down. Not too many, centers out there in the league can probably deal with his type. So he's definitely going to be interesting, but it's going to be a fun matchup when he faces, Zion Williamson and the Pelicans, definitely. So it's one of those matchups to keep your eye on, and I hope he does really well in his rookie season.
All right, Isaiah. So we have Trevor going with James Wiseman of Golden State for the rookie of the year, and of course his MVP choice as well. Could be Durant, could be a lot of players. More so, Isaiah, where do you stand on your league MVP and your rookie of the year for 2021?
You ready for this, Callan, Trevor? My MVP for this upcoming season is going to be Dante Exum of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, I'm just playing with y'all, but it's going to be actually a big surprise. It's not Giannis. It is not LeBron. It is not Luka Doncic. Ladies and gentlemen, give me Devin Booker of the Phoenix Suns. Devin Booker has been a phenomenal basketball player so far in his career with the Phoenix Suns. You know, we mentioned that he can shoot the three ball really well. He can get his own shot in the paint. He's got great footwork. His mid-range game is deadly. But what I think will transform him to MVP level player this year is the addition of Chris Paul. When Devin Booker was in Phoenix the last few years, he's been asked to do way too much. He's been asked to run the offense, you know, get his teammates the ball and get his teammates great shots. But Devin Booker doesn't have to do that anymore. He can focus on getting himself shots. He can focus on catch and shoot. And I think he's going to be even more deadly than he has been ever in his career. I think the Phoenix Suns, like Trevor mentioned early on in the show, I think the Phoenix Suns are going to make the playoffs. I have them right now as the 6th seed in the Western Conference, and I think that from where they were last season and where they've been the last few years, for them to go from that point all the way to the 6th seed, I think it's going to be a great story, and I think that will propel Devin Booker to a phenomenal year and to the MVP trophy.
Do you have a Rookie of the Year?
Give me LaMelo Ball of the Charlotte Hornets. And, you know, I've watched his preseason games. I think it was 3 preseason games so far. And he is shooting the ball so much better than Lonzo Ball is. He's finishing at the rim. He's making great passes to his teammates. I think the other day against the Bulls, he had a pass where he just no look behind the back pass, something that Magic Johnson only does. I was like, you know, I was shaking my head and I was like screaming. I was like, wow, I can't believe this kid just did this. You know, this kid is going to be a far better player than Lonzo Ball. I think he's going to be the best player out of all the Ball brothers. He's going to be a superstar, in my opinion. And I think Golden State made a mistake by not drafting him. He's going to be special in this league. Give me LaMelo Ball to have a phenomenal rookie year and win Rookie of the Year.
You know, this is probably the most talked about and probably one of the more heated debates in sports is who should win MVP for any sports league, basically in my mind. But for me, though, I think the MVP is going to boil down to either Luka Doncic or Giannis Antetokounmpo because both those players are playing in markets again where they're the main studs in town, basically. And also not just that, though. To me, though, it's also either between Luka and Giannis because there's no other competition like Los Angeles with the Lakers, the Clippers, Miami having 2 or 3 MVP candidates, Brooklyn, where it's got to be one guy. Again, and also as a reminder, it's about value to the organization, not about value because of stats and how many wins they have, but, you know, how valuable is this guy to his franchise? You know, where would they be without a Luka Doncic or a Giannis? You know, where would the Bucks be, the Mavericks be? So to me, I think it boils down between Doncic and Giannis, but I would probably have to think it goes to Luka in my mind over Giannis this time around because it's like, okay, Giannis has one now, but where would the Mavericks more so be without Luka Doncic being on their roster? You know, they've been good, though, of course, in the past several years, but they would not probably be as great as they are. I'm going to go with Doncic as my MVP, maybe in a very close vote in my mind over Giannis because, again, more so, guys, it's about value to the organization, not wins. You know, not what he do in the postseason. It's a regular season award, though, based on the value that players have for one organization. So I go with Doncic as my MVP. And Rookie of the Year, it's either going to be Anthony Edwards or James Wiseman, but I would go with Wiseman as well. Usually it's 9 times out of 10, I think we would agree, guys, that Rookie of the Year goes to usually the top overall pick 9 times out of 10, or maybe the second pick overall. But I like James Wiseman because as well, kind of in a way, though, that this might be an award, though, kind of like based on value to the organization. How valuable is Wiseman to Golden State versus Edwards to Minnesota? So I like Luka Doncic, and I also like James Wiseman to win the coveted MVP and Rookie of the Year. Christy Wilson writes in, MVP for her is LeBron. Her Rookie of the Year is also James Wiseman of Golden State. And Christy also says, I had a feeling that Isaiah was going to pick Devin Booker for league MVP. Jason McMinn writes in saying, Isaiah, that is crazy as hell, dude. Doncic, and it's not even close. This guy is way off the mark. I think we all agree, Jason. He also says, I can't stop laughing at Isaiah. And he also says, ball? Hell no. Go with Wiseman. And also he says that Luka's skill set is better than Booker's and that Luka is the future face of the NBA. I'm glad that someone out there agrees with me as well. Casey King writes in to say that James Wiseman is his rookie of the year, and he'll also have LeBron James as the league MVP. I would agree about LeBron, but I do think, though, but sadly, when you're in a market, sadly, Casey, Jason, and Christy, when you are a player much like LeBron is, and for that matter, Davis, or more so like this, the Lakers, the Heat, Brooklyn, they have players. This is pretty much a Padres situation this past baseball season where you have Machado and Tatis Jr. They take votes away from each other in regards to MVP voting. That would happen with the Lakers in my mind. That would happen with the Clippers, Miami, Brooklyn. We're more so Dallas, maybe more so Milwaukee, but Dallas and Milwaukee to me are markets that don't have that second superstar to take votes away from each other. That's why I go with Luka Doncic. To Jason's point, though, that Luka's basically a better player, though, than most of those guys are on the radar at this rate. With that, guys, in mind, some college football news. We all know, guys, that this Friday kicks off the conference championship weekend. But, guys, some very interesting news, though, concerning Notre Dame, who, of course, we have seen, though, fellas, in the top 2 right now for the college football playoff. Again, of course, there's still been some talk, though, of maybe the 4 spot involving Trevor's Buckeyes and Texas A&M being flip-flop, perhaps, depending on maybe more coming out of the ongoing deliberations concerning the Big Ten and their incompetence. But, guys, a very interesting story today, though, that broke is Brian Kelly, the head coach of Notre Dame, has apparently imposed a threat towards the college football playoff that they would boycott their upcoming playoff game if player families are not allowed to come watch the games, depending, though, guys, on whereabouts their bowl game would be played. Guys, as we know right now, at least in California, there are no live sporting events with spectators allowed right now due to, again, the nature of COVID-19 and, of course, the state's very strict COVID-19 protocols and the lockdowns out here. Trevor, where do you stand, and what are your thoughts, though, about Brian Kelly issuing out this somewhat of a threat, though, towards the college football playoff committee, where if families aren't allowed to come and watch the game, the Irish would probably pull themselves out of a playoff game for that reason?
It's really tough to say. Yes, families should be part of the college football environment. They've got their kids to, back in high school to all those football practices, and now they don't see their child, perform on one of the greatest stages in the world, the Rose Bowl as an example. And that's just heart-wrenching for a lot of people out there. But at the same time, we're still in a pandemic and you have to abide by the rules. So if Notre Dame does go to Pasadena, I think they're probably going to prevent family from getting in there. But if they go to the Sugar Bowl, which is in Atlanta, you may have a different outcome. But it's really going to boil down to what bowl game they get is going to dictate if they're going to get fans or not, and if they're going to allow family. So that's where I kind of stand on it. But at the same time, I don't think Alabama's going to get upset in the game against Florida. So I know Alabama's going to choose the closer to home route and go with the Sugar Bowl. And it's going to force Notre Dame, if they stay the 2 seed or ends up becoming 3, going out to Pasadena to either face the Buckeyes in that sense.
So, Isaiah, a lot of moving parts, though, man, as we know, as we kick off on this Friday, the conference championship weekend with Oregon and USC playing right now at the LA Coliseum in downtown Los Angeles and kicking off the weekend of college football action for Friday and Saturday. But more so, Isaiah, this is I think, though, man, sadly, it's a very slippery slope in my mind, because you're talking about seeing your school, again, lose more revenue if you don't play this college football playoff game due to the nature, as we have seen, though, Isaiah, with sports leagues who have, again, thrown the numbers out. The NBA looking at nearly $900 million, or, that the NBA perhaps has been looking at revenue losses if they didn't finish the season, or if they didn't start the season with fans or no fans in the stands and stuff of that caliber. Baseball had their own issues with debt because of no fans being at the, and again, that revenue not being there. And of course, Isaiah, we have seen those so many times, though, man, the very sad news, a lot of these, what they call non-generating revenue sports that are being cut at schools because of the lack of revenue and funding. And of course, Isaiah, Notre Dame has been known very well for how they have been, though, in regards to their, do things the right way, and how their programs are. But Isaiah, though, this becomes, I think, a very slippery slope, though, with Notre Dame specifically. Now, I know, of course, that it means a lot, though, obviously, to get to a playoff game. But now, of course, though, Isaiah, you have the rumor mills turning here about Notre Dame probably boycotting their game if they can't have family members at their games. Isaiah, I think this becomes a bit of a distraction, though, for Notre Dame in my mind. Where do you stand, though, about this deliberation again of perhaps Brian Kelly and Notre Dame threatening to boycott their playoff game if team family members are not allowed to go and watch the game in person?
Like Trevor said, this is a very sticky situation. I understand both sides. I understand the arguments. Brian Kelly, obviously, when you play college sports, Trevor, and I think you guys know this, college sports is, like the athletes always want their families in there to watch them play because there's just something about college sports and families. The families have raised their kids to, and gotten them to where they are right now. So I understand where Brian Kelly is coming from. But, at the end of the day, this is the college football playoff. Every kid dreams of playing in the college football playoff and dreams of playing for a national title. And also, if you make the college football playoff and if you make the national title, you get a lot of money paid out by the NCAA to these schools. So I think that, Brian Kelly, Brian Kelly has to tell his kids, listen, I know you want your parents at these games to watch you play, but we are in a pandemic right now. This is something that not a lot of people have dealt with in their lives, and we're going through this right now. This is a different situation. You gotta, adapt, adapt and get used to it, because if we don't play in this playoff game, we're already losing a lot of money from no fans being in the stand. We could get some of that money back that we lost from the NCAA paying us a certain amount of money from making the college football playoff. So if we don't do that, then that would be really stupid on our part. So I think that Notre Dame, it's a very interesting development because now it throws into the question if, in fact, the NCAA doesn't allow fans into the stands, then if Notre Dame, let's say Notre Dame loses, right, to Clemson, like some people are projecting, if they lose to Clemson, now that begs the question, is Notre Dame going to even be put into the playoffs after these comments by the committee? The committee might choose to put in a Texas A&M, or they might choose to put in my boy Brock Purdy in Iowa State because of the threat that Brian Kelly has issued this committee.
It's weird. It's a double-edged sword if you ask me, because, of course, the revenue is probably the biggest thing that will keep Notre Dame in. Then, though, the comments, though, towards the committee is like, well, if you don't let us have our family there, why should we bother playing in your prestigious bowl game, for, a playoff when, lives are on the line here, basically, is what I'm kind of getting at. I do, though, think, though, guys, like we said, though, it's a very interesting subject because you're talking about either a school pulling out because of fans not being at the game. But also, I think you have to consider, though, as well at the same time, that you are talking about revenue being on the line here. And I think the last thing for Notre Dame is they don't want to miss out on that revenue. They don't want to lose out on those millions of dollars from the TV deal, being in the game regardless. And I know that Brian Kelly has a very valid point, though, about having family at this game, though. But at the same time, it may just have to be one. For all that I know, it may be just one game. I mean, if you win this game and if you somehow win your playoff game, you play I think the title game is in Florida. I want to say, I might be wrong on that, but it's going to be probably in a market where fans are allowed. You can't wait one more game if you at least win the first one to not have this. I mean, I don't know though. I agree though with Isaiah though more so about it being a very interesting, more so a very slippery slope at this rate. So we'll see how things do in fact go. Clarence Nixon writes in to say that Bama will blow out Florida this weekend. Casey also says that I believe that the semifinal will get moved from the Rose Bowl to Dallas, maybe. Perhaps. Honestly, I don't know, because it is the Rose Bowl game. It may not be the same, though, in regards to not having the pageantry of the Rose Bowl Day parade or the Rose Bowl parade or the game itself. But honestly, to move the Rose Bowl game out of Pasadena, no. I know we're in the middle of a pandemic, but still, like the tradition, the history, I don't see that coming to fruition in my mind. And Casey has his picks already. Bama beats Florida. OU beats Iowa State. Don't like Notre Dame, but he has them beating Clemson. And Ohio State wins a close one over Northwestern over the course of the Saturday slate of games. With that in mind, Isaiah, back over to you.
Callan, correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't the Rose Bowl already being moved to Texas? Because I did hear reports a couple of weeks ago that either they were finalizing a move, or that the Rose Bowl committee was expecting a move to the AT&T stadium in Dallas. So I might be wrong on if in fact it has been moved, but I think the game is going to be played in Dallas.
As of now, it has not been moved yet. It is still being held at the Rose Bowl.
Oh, okay, yeah. Then Brian Kelly does have a point, because obviously California is not going to have fans in the stadium. Gavin Newsom, the governor, has already signed a law that states no fans until until one of the area drops out of the purple level zone. But I agree with I think it was Casey. Yeah, Casey that said that comment. I do in fact think that the Rose Bowl will get moved to Dallas, because the Rose Bowl, they need that revenue coming in, and a Rose Bowl without fans is just really tough to fathom.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's looked weird, though, over the course of the season at UCLA games and no spectators being there, but at the same time, it is still the Rose Bowl. It is still going to be in Pasadena at this rate, but again, things, though, could change on the fly at this juncture. With that, guys, in mind, one NFL story today, of course, the big news in the NFL, Drew Brees is back, gentlemen, after missing the past several weeks due to multiple cracked and broken ribs, and, of course, a punctured lung. Also suffered at the hands of the 49ers defense about 4 to 5 weeks ago. He is back, guys, and starting for New Orleans versus KC at home this upcoming Sunday during Week 15. Trevor, in your mind, as Brees returns, are the Saints still the team to beat in the NFC in your mind now that Brees is back and starting this upcoming week?
This is like putting a wounded gazelle back in the Africa Serengeti, basically. He's not 100%. And you're literally risking your quarterback at this point in time. Like, if he gets hurt again, his career is done. It's a story written in the stars at that point. But at the same time, it's like you're trying to get that more of that number one seed so you can get that bye week. But at the same time, you're already in the playoffs. So might as well just save him up, make sure he's 100% healthy in the playoffs. And if you have to play in wild card weekend, you have to play in wild card weekend. That's bottom line, you rather have him be 100% there, or like 85% at that point in time, than trying to rush him back, not 100% against an elite Chiefs team where he could get seriously injured and just end his career right on that game. So I think this is a bad move by the Saints, but at the same time, if you want to get him acclimated, I would literally wait to like week 16 or 17 to get him ready for that playoff shape once you know that you don't have the playoff bye, secure.
Isaiah, this in my mind spells disaster for New Orleans bringing Drew Brees back at this rate, because right now they have the playoff spot clinched. I would keep Brees basically like they kept Steven Rogers and the Winter Soldier. I'd keep him on ice for what feels like 70 years of time. Wait till the postseason to bring him back. Don't risk the injury further, especially against the vaunted KC Chiefs. I know their defense is not all that great, Isaiah, but still, you're talking about a very dynamic defense with the Honey Badger, and of course, they have been very good over the past several seasons on defense. I don't think they'll be Saints of a team to beat right now in the NFC. I still look at Green Bay to be that team to beat right now in the NFC, in my mind, at this rate, though. But I do think, though, that this is probably, I would say, though, Isaiah, a very risky situation, low risk, low reward for the Saints to do this. But Isaiah, your thoughts about the Saints bringing Drew Brees back, and is New Orleans that team to beat still, though, in your mind in the NFC, with Drew coming back after missing several weeks again? We're talking fractured, cracked, and broken ribs and a punctured lung suffered about 5 weeks ago versus San Francisco.
I agree with you and Trevor, Callan. I think that this is a potentially disastrous decision by the New Orleans Saints to bring back Drew Brees. I don't know why the New Orleans Saints just can't keep Drew Brees on ice until the playoffs. I mean, you're already guaranteed to make the playoffs. It's just a matter of time until you win the NFC South. I think you have to win one more game and you're the NFC South champions. So you're going to win the NFC South. You're going to make the playoffs. It's inevitable. You should rest Drew Brees until the playoffs. Let him have about 4 or 5 more weeks of rest those ribs, and then bring him back come playoff time when you really need him this season. I think that this is a potentially disastrous move for the New Orleans Saints. And are the Saints, the team to beat in the NFC now with Drew Brees coming back? To tell you the truth, I don't believe so. And even with Drew Brees coming back, or even with Drew Brees, I still wouldn't say the Saints are the best team, because I personally will go with the Los Angeles Rams, because I think the Rams are the more complete team and the team that just has the least amount of question marks. You look at all the NFC contenders right now. You talk about Green Bay. Yes, they have Aaron Rodgers. Yes, they have Devontae Adams. Yes, they have a vaunted offense. But their defense has a lot of question marks. I don't know if I can trust that defense come postseason time. And then you look at the Seattle Seahawks. Yes, they have Russell Wilson. They have a dynamic offense with Chris Carson, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, and potentially Josh Gordon coming back from suspension. But again, defense. Their defense is one of the worst in the NFL. And then you look at the New Orleans Saints. The New Orleans Saints, that team, they have a great defense. They have a great offense with Michael Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders, Alvin Kamara. But the biggest question is Drew Brees. How is Drew Brees going to be post-injury post broken ribs? Because let's face it, Callan, broken ribs they're very painful, and you're never the same when you're trying to come back from broken ribs. I mean, one hit and Drew Brees can be out for the rest of the year. That's how fragile, Drew Brees could be potentially coming back from broken rib injury. I'm going to say right now it's got to be the Rams, because the Rams are running the football extremely well right now. They have reestablished their dominance on both the offensive line and the defensive line. And like I always say, this is how you win in the playoffs, by dominating in the trenches, and it seems like the Rams have gotten that going as of late.
I don't see the Saints being the best team in the NFC. I still like Green Bay. I like the Rams, though, too, because that they have everything basically checked off the list, though, in regards to offense, defense, a good quarterback. New Orleans is up there, but to me, though, this move, though, just does not sound like the best move that could have been made, though, by Sean Payton and by the Saints in regards to bringing Drew Brees back in basically what it seems to me, though, to be a very meaningless ball game. I know, of course, that they're playing the Chiefs, though, but you basically are a game away from winning the division championship. Why even bother risking further harm and injury to Drew Brees, especially though in the especially with the playoffs lingering on the horizon, where, of course, the season, of course, guys, really matters the most at this rate and at this point in time. With that, guys, moving over into a off-the-wall subject here. Of course, guys, Christmas time is rolling around here, next Friday to be exact. That, of course, though, Trevor, brings us to a very important drink debate come around this time of the year. Trevor, simple question. Are you team eggnog or team hot chocolate?
I'm going to have to go team hot chocolate on this one. You can literally get hot chocolate anywhere you go out. For the best example, if you love skiing or snowboarding or winter sports, they don't serve eggnog in, the ski resort, lodge. That's unheard of. So when you go to the lodge, you get hot chocolate. It's a no-brainer. Anyone can make hot chocolate, and it's the best time of the year. And you can literally drink it in January, when eggnog is most of the timely around Christmas. So like any time of the cold months, you can drink hot chocolate. It's perfect. Eggnog's only around 1 month, which is December or close to New Year's. Like maybe 2 days after New Year's, that's it. Nothing else about eggnog.
All right, so Isaiah, we have Trevor on board for the hot chocolate bandwagon. How about you?
I gotta agree with Trevor. Get me on team hot chocolate, because I'm a chocolate guy. So I love hot chocolate. I love whatever chocolate shake, whatever chocolate drinks. I just love chocolate. I'm not really a big fan of eggnog. I have had it once, and I wasn't really a big fan of it. So yeah, I'm on team hot chocolate.
All in favor of being on board for team hot chocolate. I mean, I love hot chocolate regardless. Basically, it was actually a thing I would drink to help my throat when I work games, believe it or not, a while back. And, kind of like the chocolate would kind of stick to the throat a little bit, but kind of in a way get all that stuff out of my, kind of clear the pipes a little bit better. So I would be also go with Team Hot Chocolate. Christy's also on Team Hot Chocolate, simply just not a fan of eggnog. Very good answer in regards to that going right there. With that, guys, again, as we mentioned, it is Conference Championship Weekend, which brings us, guys, to another edition of Pigskin Pick'em. For Conference Championship Weekend, guys, we'll go through some of the big name Conference Championship games coming up this weekend. First up, gents, the SEC Championship. Number 1, Alabama. Number 7, Florida is on the docket. Trevor, who you got?
Give me my Tide. That rolls on. They're going to go and clinch the number 1 seed of the college football playoffs because they're facing a number 7 Florida. It's a no-brainer. If you don't rank Alabama number 1, there's something wrong with you. That's the bottom line. And they're going to easily steamroll because Florida doesn't have defense, and they got exposed against LSU, and they got exposed against A&M. Alabama's going to do the same thing. They got literally 3 Heisman contenders on that offense, and it's going to show in this championship game. It's going to help Mac Jones seal his fate as the next Heisman, maybe.
All right, so Isaiah, 1 vote for the Tide. How about you?
You guys know how much I hate Alabama. Normally, I would always pick against Alabama, regardless of the opponent they're playing. Heck, once I even picked New Mexico State to beat Alabama. But, since I'm going on record here, I can't do that and, be reckless with my prediction. Give me the Alabama Crimson Tide to win yet another SEC championship. I mean, I like Florida. I like their quarterback, Kyle Trask. I like their head coach, Dan Mullen. Plus, their logo is not too shabby. But their defense is what's going to kill them. And their defense just cannot stop anybody to save their lives. I mean, their defense is honestly kind of like the Raiders and the Cowboys combined into one. That's how bad they are. They gave up 37 points last week to an LSU team that has been struggling mightily on offense and was down to their 3rd-string quarterback. They're going to give up over 60 to this Alabama offense, which is one of the best right now in all of college football. I expect Florida to put up a lot of points in this game because I don't think the Alabama defense is necessarily that good, but I think Alabama is just going to put up too much points and run away with it. Give me Alabama. I'm going to go Alabama 66. Florida, give me 35.
I don't need to give you a score prediction. Roll Tide roll. Simple as that. Next game, fellas, on the schedule is the Big Ten Championship game featuring number 4 Ohio State and Northwestern and Pat Fitzgerald and his ball club. Trevor, give us the reason why Ohio State will win this game with a field day from Justin Fields.
I think the reason why Ohio State's going to win this game, it's because they haven't played in 2 to 3 weeks, and you didn't play your rivalry game, so you're kind of upset about it. But at the same time, you're in the making of building an Ohio State dynasty. You've been to the Big Ten championship 4 times. Just imagine any other school in the Big Ten doing that. That's really unheard of at this point in time. And at the same point in time, it's like, boom, Ohio State, another shot at the college football playoffs if you win this game. So, the Buckeyes are going to make history, win 4 straight Big Ten championships, and, march on to the promised land in Pasadena.
All right, Isaiah, 1 vote for Ohio State over Pat Fitzgerald and the Northwestern Wildcats, again, by virtue of the very loony year it's been in the Big Ten Conference. Isaiah, who you got?
Give me Northwestern, Callan. Give me Northwestern to pull off the upset of the century and take down those Ohio State Buckeyes and end the Buckeyes dynasty. This is how Northwestern will win. Northwestern is a team that runs the ball heavily, gets into third and manageable, and the quarterback doesn't make any mistakes, and they play the time and possession game. I know Trevor is laughing his head off right now, but Northwestern, they have historically has had a great defense. They play great defense. They run the ball. They play time of possession. That's what Northwestern is going to do. Ohio State will not see the offense will not see the field that often in that game tomorrow morning. Give me the Northwestern Wildcats to pull off the upset of the year and end the Buckeyes dynasty. I'm going to go with a score of 21-17.
Isaiah, please turn in your football card at the front desk of the MI6 office, please. You don't deserve it anymore. I'm sorry, my friend.
Sorry, Isaiah, but OH.
Ohio.
Give me Ohio State to win this game over the Wildcats. Next game, fellas, the ACC championship game will take place on Saturday as well. Number 2 ranked Notre Dame takes on number 3 ranked Clemson in this ball game. Trev, who you got?
I got Clemson because they got Trevor Lawrence back. They got all the weapons that they need to, make this game interesting. Though Notre Dame was able to beat them by one, touchdown in OT, but it just goes to show you that Notre Dame is not going to be consistent in this ball game. They had too many close games this year against sorry opponents that shouldn't be, playing close against Notre Dame at all. And it just goes to show if Trevor Lawrence was out there, he would have probably scorched him, and this probably be a 3 touchdown difference of a game, looking like an A&M versus Alabama scenario. So this is basically what it is, and this is the revenge game. It's going to shift up the college football playoffs, but it's going to force the question is, if Clemson wins, do you leave out Notre Dame in this playoff picture?
All right, Isaiah, 1 vote in for Clemson in this ball game. What say you?
Well, this is going to be the game of championship weekend. I am so looking forward to this game tomorrow afternoon. This is very tough because these two teams did, in fact, play each other. I believe it was in October, and it was a really, really good nail-biting, classic finish type of a game. But Trevor Lawrence did not play in this game, and I think he's going to be that major tipping point that's going to swing the game towards Clemson's favor. If Clemson had Trevor Lawrence, I think Clemson would have won that game by at least 2 touchdowns because Notre Dame, that defense, wasn't really that good down the stretch against DJ Uiagalelei in that game. Trevor Lawrence right now is much better than DJ Uiagalelei. Give me Clemson to win this football game.
I agree. I got the game to knock off Notre Dame. And more so, guys, I only say this, though, because there's a lot of times, though, in sports where you see a matchup in the regular season and it goes one way. Sometimes, though, you see that matchup again, it's like, well, we'll beat them when it counts. And I think that Clemson has kind of had that mentality throughout the course of the season, of course, with DJ Uiagalelei having to play quarterback due to, again, Trevor Lawrence's COVID test back in October when, of course, they lose to Notre Dame. I thought to myself that night when Notre Dame won, Clemson will beat them when it counts the most. And when it counts the most, ACC championship game, I got Clemson as well winning this ball game over the Fighting Irish on Saturday. Last but not least, fellas, the Big 12 title game is also on Saturday, of course, featuring 6th-ranked Iowa State facing number 11-ranked Oklahoma in this ball game. Trevor, who you got?
This is like I said for Ohio State. Oklahoma has been in the Big 12 championship game the most out of literally any of the teams in the college football playoffs for like the past 3 years. So they're on the verge of making history and making sure they maintain that and getting their, try to boost their reason why they try to belong in the college football playoffs. But being a 2-loss team in this day and age, I don't think you're going to get to the promised land this year. But at the same time, Oklahoma is just that more of a fire, explosive offense, and I don't think Iowa State's going to be able to compete with Oklahoma this year.
So, Isaiah, 1 vote for the Sooners. Give us the lone vote for Iowa State.
Give me Brock Purdy and Iowa State to win their first conference title since 1912. In 100 years, history will be made tomorrow. I am going to go with Iowa State because Oklahoma's defense has been their Achilles heel. Oklahoma has a great offense with Spencer Rattler and the crew, but, Spencer Rattler has been prone to interceptions this season. In fact, against Iowa State, I believe he threw 3 interceptions in that game. Iowa State's got a fantastic defense. They're going to confuse him. They're going to get after him on Saturday. I think he's going to throw a couple of interceptions in that game, and I think that's going to be the key to getting Iowa State this victory because Iowa State, they're like an NFL team in the Big 12. They are a team that loves to run the football. They've got one of the best running backs in college football in Breece Hall, who has averaged 110 yards rushing per game. They've got Brock Purdy, who just doesn't turn the ball over at all. He gets his receivers the ball on time. They've got one of the best tight ends in college football, and Charlie Kohler, who actually Oklahoma turned him down to play when he wanted to play for them, and then he went to Iowa State and has blossomed to be a star. I think Kohler is going to have a big day. I think Purdy's going to have a big day, and I think Breece Hall is going to have a big day because Oklahoma, they just can't stop the run to save their life. Give me Iowa State to win the first Big 12 title tomorrow in over 100 years.
Short and sweet, Boomer Sooner. Simple as that. With that, guys, we'll now move on over into another Christmas-themed edition of the No BS Power 5.
Персональный спутник.
It seems to me, though, fellas, that every single week we've done this during Christmas time, that the lists get harder and harder and harder to compile. And per Isaiah, tonight's Power 5 will feature Christmas gifts we have gotten or received on Christmas days. We are, again, literally a week away from the Christmas holiday. Trevor, you're in square two. We'll let you go first with your Power 5 for Christmas gifts you have received.
All right, so going with number 5, I'm gonna have to, thank my grandmother on this one. One of my Christmases, she gave me a lava lamp. It was the most fantastic thing, though. It wasn't like my brother's lava lamp like that he got. His was blue, and it was like more of like sparkles that went up and down in it. Mine was like the traditional lava lamp with the globs of goo that went up, and it was like a red crayon. That was really cool about it, and like I still have it. But at the same time, it's like I kind of need a new light bulb to get it fixed and get it working again. But it was just a great experience with that lava lamp. I had it on every night when I went to bed. It was just a cool feature that I had with the lava lamp. So my number 4 spot has to be one year I got a gaming TV for Christmas. So this is back when I think I got around like the PlayStation 2. So around that era. And it was literally a big box on like next to our TV for Christmas. It was like saying, what is this big box? And we opened it and it was like, boom, a nice, I'd probably say decent size, 28-inch TV or something like that. So I was like, this is perfect. So we put the GameCube and the PlayStation 2 on that TV. And that's how the gaming station started to develop as the years went by. Number 3 on this list has to be the first console I ever got was the GameCube. Had so many memories on it. Had Mario Sunshine was the very first game. Never beat that game to this day, but it's still a classic that I pop in every now and then. But it got me to, bring kids from the neighborhood over to our house, build up those friendships and the relationships. And then when Madden came into the picture, like Madden 06, when we got that game, that's when we had our Madden tournaments in the neighborhood. And that really showed that I had the West Coast offense where I could sling the ball up to 600 yards in a game, but somehow throw 16 interceptions. So imagine that in fantasy. You wouldn't want me as your quarterback in Madden. Number 2 has to be Legos. You can't go wrong with Legos on Christmas. It's a perfect gift. I think one of my first Lego sets was the A-Wing in Star Wars. That was my very first one. And then like the biggest one I ever got was getting like a miniature airport. I built that up like crazy, though it's no longer in construction, but I have the plane that's still there in somewhat assembled capacity before it got dismantled. And number 1 has to be the king of all kings for me is my model trains that I got every Christmas. And I have like over $1,000 worth of model trains, and I have like over 30 plus model railroad engines at this point in my career. Hopefully I can expand it when I move out and, take those trains with me. But, as time will tell, I'm going to need to find an apartment space that will allow me to run my model trains. And that's my Power 5.
I think Trevor needs a conductor's hat to go along with that captain hat for Captain Kirk.
I do have a conductor's hat. That's in my room, though. So the next episode, I guess in the Christmas episode, I'll bring out a model train and have my conductor's hat as my, Polar Express theme for the, we could call it the Midnight Express for that episode.
I love it. That is great. All right, Isaiah, plenty of good stuff from Trevor. How about you for your Power 5 Christmas gifts you have gotten on Christmas Day, sir?
Wow, this was a very tough list to compile because as Callan mentioned, there's just so many Christmas gifts that I've gotten throughout my entire life so far. And it's really hard to pick and choose, the best ones or pick at the top 5. So before I get into my top 5, I gotta go with an honorable mention. or a couple of honorable mentions actually. Number one, it's this Oregon Ducks, like, you know, it's like the O ceramic O. I got that last year when I was working the Pac-12 championship game at Levi Stadium. I was trying to find a picture of it. I guess like it's really deep into my archives, and unfortunately I couldn't find a picture of it. But you know, I was working the Pac-12 championship game last year, and Oregon was, I think, playing Colorado. I might be wrong on that. But, you know, I was working there, and during my break, I bumped into the Oregon Duck mascot. I bumped into Putto's, you know, the Oregon Duck mascot, and, you know, I basically told Putto's that, hey, you know, listen, I know I'm not supposed to reveal to anybody who I'm rooting for because I'm supposed to be neutral since I'm working. But hey, let's keep this a secret. But I'm actually rooting for Oregon because I like you, because since you are like a really cute mascot. And then during like the game, right? During the game, Putto's actually went up to my section, I guess because he was in my section the entire time, because that's where that's where the Oregon band was, and he gave me this ceramic Oregon O, and I have it somewhere in my room. I was trying to find it, but I couldn't, but it was such a cool gift for him, or from him. So Putto's, if you're listening, thank you so much for that gift. I really appreciate it, and I really cherish it. The last honorable mention I have is a Lakers backpack, and I got this a couple of years ago. I believe it was from my dad for Christmas. He knew how much of a Lakers fan I was. I really hated the Warriors. You know, when the Warriors were big time here in the Bay Area, I always rooted for the Lakers, and you know, to get that Lakers backpack was so cool to get. But you know, I'll start with number 5. Number 5 on my list has got to be a baseball mitt. I got this baseball mitt 4 years ago from my dad again. You know, I was a huge fan of baseball, but I never had a bat or a baseball or even a baseball mitt, because when my parents were really afraid that, you know, I would, you know, swing, or I would play with it in the house, and I would swing at the ball, or, you know, try to throw the ball to myself in the air and crack a light or crack a window. So they never gave me a baseball mitt or a ball or, you know, a bat, but finally they gave me a baseball mitt and a baseball when I was, I believe, right after high school. They trusted me that I wouldn't, you know, break anything, and, you know, still to this day, I haven't broken anything. I still use that mitt. It's a very comfortable mitt to play baseball with, so I'm really appreciative of that. Number 4 on my list has got to be this. It's got to be my Nick Mullins jersey that I got for Christmas a couple of years ago. I bought this jersey. Yes, I wear this every time we talk about the 49ers and Nick Mullins on the podcast. But I bought this jersey actually in 2018, right after Nick Mullins and the 49ers had a miraculous win against the Seattle Seahawks a couple of days before Christmas. You know, I work at Levi Stadium. They gave me like a 50% discount, and I bought that jersey for like $80. At that time, it was $160 full price, but 50% discount. I got it for $80. And, you know, this was actually my first and only 49ers jersey that I have ever gotten in my life. So for it to be a Nick Mullins one is like, I see.
What?
Yes. Yes. Can you guys believe it? This is my first and only 49ers jersey that I have ever gotten in my life as a 49ers fan. It just had to be Nick Mullins. So it was a great, great gift, and I'm still using it to. Yeah, that's crazy, right? But number 3 on my list has got to be, you know, number 3. It's got to be that PlayStation 3 that my good friend Stephen Wang gave me last year for Christmas. You know, I've always wanted a PlayStation. I've always wanted a PlayStation, but you know what? My parents are really strict, and you know, they don't really let me have, you know, PlayStations and stuff like that. But yes, I finally got it from Steven, and I played a couple of times on it, And, you know, it was so much fun. So, Steven, thank you so much for the gift. Really appreciate you, brother. Where am I at? Number 2. Yes, number 2 on this list is got to be my laptop. You know, I had wanted a laptop for so long, but I finally got it like 6 years ago. I actually was pleading my parents. I was like, please, Mom, please, Dad, get me a laptop. I need a laptop. I really need a laptop. And I never ever thought actually they would get me a laptop for Christmas. But they actually got me a laptop for Christmas, and that's what I'm using right now to do this show. And it's really like useful for me to like do stuff to do work with and to play around with. And number one on this list has got to be 49ers tickets that I got. I think it was this wasn't on Christmas Day, but it was, I believe, in the first couple of weeks of December. My parents knew how big of a 49ers fan I was. I had just moved to the Bay Area, and I got tickets to the 49ers game against the Rams, and they were actually pretty cheap tickets because the Niners were so bad. Before I arrived in the Bay Area, I went to the game against the Rams. That was the year I think Jim Harbaugh was the coach, and that was, I think, his first year with the team. And that was the year the Niners went on that magical run towards the NFC Championship where they started like 9-1 or 10-1, and that was the game where the 49ers clinched their first ever NFC West title since, I believe, 2003. Like, it was a long time. Jim Harbaugh got a Gatorade bath. It was so cool to experience Candlestick Park and, you know, see the historic venue that is that stadium and walk around it and watch my 49ers absolutely demolish the Rams by a score of 26-3. That is probably my favorite Christmas present that I've ever gotten in my life.
Very good list for Trevor and Isaiah. Mine, folks, I'll keep it brief like usual. For me, at number 5, it's anytime I got new baseball gear or any new thing for me when I was playing sports, baseball, basketball, roller hockey. It's always important, I think, to get, the new cleats, a new ball, maybe some new gloves for hockey games or a new stick or something like that. So I always look forward to maybe getting some of that on Christmas Day. Number 4 was my brother and sister-in-law actually paid for my trip to Washington, D.C. on my 8th grade trip. You saw the video of the Hotel Room Idiots a few weeks ago. That came with a brand new, at the time, one of those very cool iPod Nanos way back in the day when it was still, you had to spin the wheel to kind of get back to the artist in the menu. Number 3, I would get jerseys every so often and for Christmas time as well. Hockey jerseys, baseball jerseys, what have you. Number 2, though, guys, Trevor brought up Legos and trains. 2 for me, though, is Hot Wheels. I still have my Hot Wheels. All my Hot Wheels are below my bed in my room here, and they're still in the case and things like that. But number 1 is anytime I would get a stereo or a boombox, and it came with a microphone, because that was what I would do in my backyard at my old place. Go out there, play some games, and imitate the announcers and play the game and go from there. And, of course, 11 years, and here I am. But that, folks, is our Power 5 list of gifts we have gotten. A couple of Power 5s, guys, have come in, though, from the viewers. First, my man Espen says, is Callan wearing a sleeveless jersey? It's December 18th, Burr. Yeah, I got a Dallas Mavericks jersey on tonight, and it's not that cold in my house, so I'm actually enjoying being sleeveless, so there's nothing to show off here because the gun show is not in town. Christy Wilson writes in to say, a Barbie doll at number 5, the copy of Rhythm Nation 1814 by Janet Jackson. She also says a boombox from her folks when she was 9. A couple of Star Wars Funko Pops I got from my husband. But number 1, a plush Garfield from my parents when I was 6. Still have Garfield to this day. I still collect stuffed animals as well. Chardol has his Power 5. He's got the PlayStation 5 coming in at number 5. The RC car at 4. I think a lot of us had the RC cars at 4. Or in general with remote-controlled vehicles. Chardol has the doll of Woody from Toy Story at number 3. Also, at number 2, he agrees with Trevor about the Polar Express train set, but also a pair of Steph Curry 7 shoes is at number 1 on his list. And Casey King writes in away from it, saying that the Trojans are a bunch of Higgins. Remember, Isaiah, it's Huggies, not Higgins. And time for them to fire Clay Helton, yes, probably will not happen, but they need to change, and Chris Peterson is the guy they need to hire. But we'll see, though, how things do, in fact, go at this time with the USC Trojans. With that, guys, we'll now wrap things up for the night and for the weekend of coverage. and go into tonight's final thoughts. Despite all the tech problems, guys, we got to the finish line here tonight where Isaiah, me, and Trevor both had some tech problems tonight. But again, much more so, folks, on my end, and I even wrote this to our group chat for the host, is because my laptop is thoroughly out of commission right now. I have to run the poll questions on the same computer I'm using to stream the program. So that happened to just knock me out because of the interference from both of the platforms. With that, though, Trevor, over to you for your final thoughts for tonight's show. What do you got?
Another fantastic show on the MI6 Sports Network. And sweet on a Friday night. Don't we all love it? But it's not the same running a 2-hour special on the MI6 Sports Network. So, I've been happy about that. So, we're going into the new year right with shorter episodes to make, listening it more enjoyable and, a shorter time span to get more people interested and more plays on our episodes. So we're going to try to do that as our New Year's resolution this coming up year.
We'll see how things go. With that in mind, Isaiah, over to you for your final thoughts for tonight's program.
Yeah, before I get into my final thoughts, I want to thank Casey King, Shardul Gupta, Christy Wilson, Espen Carell. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, but still, thank you so much for watching the show. Chris Woodman Z, Clarence Nixon, as well as Jason McMinn and John Alcorn for tuning in tonight. That's pretty much it. But thank you guys so much for tuning in to tonight's show. We really, really appreciate you guys. I hope that all of you guys have a fantastic holiday, have a very Merry Christmas, and also, just thank you guys so much for your support over this last 10 months here on the network. But for my final thoughts, Callan, I cannot wait for my Nick freaking Mullins t-shirt to come out. It's gonna be great. Hopefully the Niners beat the Cowboys, and then I can rock this with pride because if I get it and then the Niners lose out and Mullins gets benched, there's no point in wearing it. But USC and Oregon, it's a really close game right now. SC is down 31-24 with 4 minutes left in the ball game. They're going to get the football back, so who knows? We might see some Keaton Slovis magic once again. Puddles, thank you so much for that. That Oregon, ceramic, the O ceramic. But I'm sorry, man. I gotta root for USC, so I don't have to eat my words about Keaton Slovis that I spewed on the air last week, and Callan and Trevor and the rest of the gang here on the MI6 Sports Network will never let me hear the end of that. But can't wait for Championship Saturday tomorrow. A lot of great games going on. It's going to be a fun day of watching college football, and then on Sunday is the day of reckoning, the day when we will find out who ultimately makes the college football playoff and who makes the college football playoff and what the matchups are. I can't wait for the weekend.
Weekend's going to be good. Final thoughts here, folks. For me, not much to really pass along tonight other than, of course, thanks for the viewers and all the good stuff, though, folks. However, though, I should actually mention we do have a couple of announcements more so. For me, it's more so announcements more than it's actually any final thoughts because I usually have all my thoughts throughout the course of the program, but it's more so network announcements that we're going to be having come your way, especially as we, of course, folks know we are kind of up against the clock, though, with the Christmas holiday. But with that, folks, some announcements here, though, to make, as mentioned already, but starting, folks, on Monday, SI writer for the 49ers and Oregon alum, Maverick Palak, will join us on Wild Sports Talk on Monday, December 21st, coming up at 5 o'clock in the evening here to recap a very busy weekend of football for both Oregon and also for the San Francisco 49ers with myself, Isaiah, and John Mathis back here on Monday night at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. We hope you folks will be able to join us on that program on Monday. And then also, folks, on Wednesday next week on December 23rd will be the Network Christmas Special at 8 o'clock Pacific time. Again, multi-hour event coming your way throughout the course of the evening to, again, ring in the Christmas holiday for the most part for a majority of us and all that good stuff. But again, we'll be talking some sports, but also, again, probably if some of us have gotten our Secret Santa gifts, we'll hopefully open those for you folks that night. If not, we'll just probably have to post some, later videos perhaps of that going on. And then also, folks, and Isaiah, I want you to, again, listen closely here, Isaiah. Starting, folks, on Christmas Eve until December 27th, there will be no programming, Isaiah. Again, we're going to take some time to get away for a bit, kind of recharge the batteries, then resume operation on December 28th. But now, though, guys, here's where things get fun. I'm going to put the TriCaster view up here. Here's, though, guys, where things get very fun and very intriguing and very, very cool. New Year's Eve, gentlemen, we are going to do the impossible and host a 6-hour special for the network New Year's Eve special. Here's how it's going to work. Listen closely. Starting at 6 o'clock Pacific time, 9 o'clock Eastern, Trevor and the East Coast gang will host for 3 hours to ring in the new year first. Then the West Coast host, myself, Isaiah, and anyone else that wants to stay up on the West Coast will host from 9 to midnight. And that way everybody can experience the new year over a 6-hour program here on the MI6 Sports Network. Yes, Christy, I agree. A 6-hour special, smiling face emoji. Trevor, what do you think?
You just messed up the New Year's resolution I just said. We're trying to keep it under 2-hour specials, and now you roll it out with a 6-hour one.
Because technically, Trev, we're not in 2021 yet. So that's why it's still valid. Isaiah, I think you are about ready to flip your table over. What do you got for us?
Let me take a moment to gather my thoughts, but you've got to be kidding me, Callan. A 6-hour special, me, you, John, and everybody else that was on our NBA draft special. We did that for, I believe, 2 or 3 hours. Or no, I think we did it for 3.5 hours. And we were ready to not do a show for the next week because that's how tired we are. But my God, man. Crank up that coffee machine, get a ton of Red Bull, because we're going to need it if we're going to be able to live through that 6-hour special on New Year's Eve.
Now, again, as a reminder here, Isaiah, we're not going to be on for all 6. Again, Trevor and the East Coast crew will go for the first 3, then we go the last 3. So not everyone is going to be on for 6 hours, but the East Coast crew, so Alcorn, Trev, Shri, those guys can ring in the new year for 3 hours. Again, talk some sports in regards to the NBA going on, maybe some bowl games that are in fact going on New Year's Eve that they can talk about, any news. Then they can hang, though, and go from there. And then once it's 9 o'clock our time on the West Coast, then you, me, Mathis, Wang, and the rest of the West Coast crew can come on and do the same damn thing. But again, there's probably some late night games that are in fact ending around that time, where this becomes the night shift basically, and then we just celebrate the new year. That's how it's going to work here, Isaiah.
Callan, knowing me, I will probably end up being on for the entire 6 hours because I basically have nothing to do. I love doing programming. By the way, John Mathis is tuning in. What's up, John? If you missed it earlier, we are doing a 6-hour special on New Year's Eve. So get the coffee machine cranking, my friend. Get the Red Bull, but. Callan, you know what? Let's do it. Let's smash some records right before we start the new year, and let's start the new year off with a bang.
Christy, I agree. Get the machine ready. Now, I'm going to be going out and getting me a 6-pack for that night at this rate. I may have to
One
put
for every hour
at the very end at this rate, but Isaiah's game. And I believe though the record right now is 4 hours and 7 minutes, I think, Isaiah, for a network show, because that was the Thanksgiving special that we had where it just went. Okay, Isaiah's reacting. Okay, Isaiah, what do you got for us, man? What's going on?
Keaton Slovis just threw another pick. He threw with
What was that?
I think Keaton Slovis just threw another pick. I couldn't exactly see what just transpired on the TV, but unfortunately, because it's on commercial break right now, but I think USC might be over, yeah, it's a pick. Damn it! Best quarterback in college football, greatest quarterback to ever play at USC. And what does he do the next week? Stinks up the joint and throws 3 INTs. I'm done. Merry Christmas, y'all.
Good night, folks.